There are key differences between assisted living and residential assisted living that no one really talks about, and I want to break it down for us here today. The term assisted living and residential assisted living, they're often used interchangeably, but there are subtle differences depending on the context and location. In many cases, both refer to facilities or homes or communities, right, that provide housing and support for individuals who need assistance with what we call in the industry ADLs, activities of daily living. Think like bathing, toileting, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, eating, taking medication, walking. That's why you're moving into assisted living, whether it be residential or commercial. But it's not necessarily for those who require intensive medical care that's offered in a SNF or a skilled nursing facility. Basically, if you need doctors, gurneys, and IVs, you're probably not the right fit for assisted living. You need more care. You need a skilled nursing facility. However, the differences generally revolve around just that: the level of care, the services that are offered, and of course, state specific definitions. Assisted living is a broad term that generally just refers to a facility or community that is designed to provide a balance between independence and assistance for those individuals who require help with the daily activities, but they don't need that 24/7 medical care. Now, there are truly three main big differences, and each play a role in why you might want to choose one over the other for yourself or for a loved one. And let's break it down. The first is physically. An assisted living facility is a large community, commercially zoned, and usually housing 40 or more seniors in one building or community, some up to 500 plus seniors. Versus a residential assisted living, it's a smaller, residentially zoned home in like a regular single family neighborhood that typically houses less than 20 residents in one home. You'll usually find them housing between 6 and 16 at the most. Physically, one is larger and usually has long hallways with rooms that look exactly the same on either side. And the other is smaller and more unique. And it isn't home like, but it's an actual home. So the flow isn't perfectly long hallways with exactly the same rooms on each side. It's unique, like your home may be, or, my home may look. The next biggest difference is the quality of care. Oof, this one is like a big topic I always talk about. In a large assisted living community, the ratios, they're typically 30 seniors to just one caregiver. And often this is lied about. They count staff in the ratio, and that is not even accurate or fair. In a smaller residential assisted living home, the ratio is typically 4 to 1 or 5 to 1. And because of this huge discrepancy, we often see a lot more abuse and neglect in larger assisted living communities. They just don't have the manpower to give the individualized attention that smaller RAL homes do. This really got exposed greatly in 2020 with the rise of COVID, where over 97% of cases in assisted living were in larger big box communities and only 3% in RAL homes. It just goes to show that unnecessary sickness and death can spread much easier in a large community where one person is expected to take care of so many things. It just can slip through the cracks. I've been in this industry for the last 10 years, and I don't want you to miss this video right here on the top myths and misconceptions in assisted living. So make sure to check it out right here on YouTube next. Although there are many differences, the final one that really helps people determine what is a better option for them personally when choosing care for their loved one is cost. And I hate that cost becomes a factor in this, but it does. Assisted living should be affordable for all. I stand for that. I genuinely believe that everyone should have quality care in their last years of life. But the big difference in a large versus small assisted living, right, is that in a large assisted living, you will typically have a base rate fee, right? Like $5,000 or $4,000. And then they'll have additions for different things, like renting out furniture to furnish the room, eating outside of the regular 3 scheduled meals. The more medications you take, the more they'll charge. If you use supplies that aren't like provided to you, or you use more supplies than they do provide, diapers or whatever, they'll charge you. If you try to elope or escape, they call it, they'll charge you. If you need more care than when you moved in, they'll charge you. So it's an upcharge model that can really start to break the bank quickly. And it's not always explained in full upfront. So when people move in, they're like, whoa, why is my bill 2 or 3 times what we agreed upon? And it's because that's the model that they have in many of those large communities. In a residential assisted living model, you'll often see many times that it's one flat rate for the entirety of the stay for the senior, no matter what they need or when they need it or what they want, all of it's included. They're running at a smaller scale. So if the senior wants a snack, it's all good. What do you want? If they need more care in 3 years than they did when they first moved in, it's not an inconvenience. It's what we're literally here for. So a flat rate is the model that typically most RALs do. Now, not everyone is created equal. Some big boxes do a flat rate that doesn't increase over time. I've rarely seen it, but 80-20 rule, hey. And some RALs do upcharge for different things that are needed. So you need to ask these questions as you're moving a loved one into assisted living or you're going in yourself. Last but not least, and this may not be a marketable difference, but it's definitely one to note, is the vibe, the energy, the culture in a big box assisted living versus an RAL. And it is potable. This is a huge reason why so many families choose residential assisted living after having a terrible experience in a local, big box assisted living. They may not have been aware that the option even existed, but now that they've seen the neglect, they've seen the lack of attention, it's time to search for a place where their senior loved one is respected and is cared for and is treated with dignity. And that's where RALs really shine. Make sure to check out this video next, and I'll see you next time.